Good evening, everybody. Matt Larson here on BigSiouxMedia.com, and we are joined once again by Dr. Summer Schultz, Dell Rapids Superintendent. It's been a few days, a little over a week since we last talked, an update, and I guess we thought it might be appropriate to get out and get something put out there for the public around Governor Noem's address this afternoon. Some things coming out there that maybe are pushing things to more quote-unquote back to normal here soon. Is there anything that from that announcement today that impacts a school, or things that you want to share about that?
You know, Matt, we as school administrators, we heard the information from Governor Noem at the same time that everyone else did today. So we listened, knowing we would hear some decisions or some ideas about moving forward and getting back to normal, what we consider normal in South Dakota. But, it was a little vague. And I think I was worried that our community would think, we're going to get kids back in school, because there was some comments about that schools could start bringing kids in some form or another. And again, since as a superintendent, I just heard her message today at 3:00. We're not prepared to do anything different at this time at Dell Rapids. I honestly don't foresee a change in our school calendar or in our already laid out plan. However, I will be meeting with my admin team tomorrow, and we'll talk through some things. What I do see some changes happening now is as we start planning and scheduling for the summer and for reentry. So, for example, we have a pretty good plan in place for returning of supplies and textbooks, but we might be able to do that a little bit differently. We do have some special populations of students that we might be able to do some services for in-house now, that we've had to be a little bit more protective of doing those off-site. So we might be able to bring some small groups in. We will not be bringing in, all the teachers, all the students. Minnehaha County is still under that executive order. And so, we would have a percentage of our students and staff who wouldn't be able to attend regardless. And I just think our best plan will be to stay the track that we already have laid out, and then look at those things that we can have some control over that are coming up this month.
Well, you mentioned one of the things is the end of the year drop-offs maybe looking a little different. I know one of my kids has already gotten some information about how that might look May 15th. And I assume that, you probably have more of those discussions here throughout the rest of the week and get more details out. But how about other things like maybe Summer Haven? That was a topic we hit on last time. How could maybe this change how plans were going for that?
We are meeting tomorrow. Haven has an advisory board, and that advisory board was already scheduled to meet tomorrow, because we had told parents we would try to tell them by May 1st what our plan of intent was. So we have an already scheduled meeting. I do believe Governor Noem's her press conference today is a positive, showed positive signs that Summer Haven could possibly, still happen. After her last press conference, I guess I wasn't optimistic that was the case. We've really kind of changed some guidance and some thinking in our state here in the last couple of weeks. That's not to say that we will, just go back on all the precautions and things, but our advisory board for Haven will take that very seriously. Daycares were never mandated to shut, as many people know. We would have to just really consider those guidelines and see if we could create a program that could, keep kids as healthy and staff as healthy as possible. But that advisory board will meet, and we will hopefully have a decision here still by the end of the week for Summer Haven.
Sure. And staying with the theme of some of the summer programs, I know Driver's Ed, I think most of us got an email that have kids that are in that age group, or the phone call where some information came out about how that might be different than in years past. And again, I know that we all heard the news just early this afternoon, but is there maybe thoughts that, well, maybe now some of that could change a little bit?
It's possible that it could, Matt. We, as a lot of people know, we also have a pretty large construction project happening at the school. They just started yesterday. when Governor Noem told us we would not be going back to school, we moved up the start of the construction project. So we wouldn't want kids in our high school or middle school buildings anyway for driver's ed. That's not to say we couldn't use the elementary, but we do have a plan in place to do the driver's ed online and do a virtual component. So we, at this time, will continue to plan for that. As that letter said, we are having people pay in two sections. We're having them pay for the behind the wheel training and the classroom part separately, just in case things would make it difficult for us to get the driving part done. We want to make sure any kid who has registered and signed up can do the classroom portion virtually, but then we will do our best to get the drivers in. But again, with these changes in our state, it's hard to know what June is going to look like. And so I think we have to still kind of hold on. And, these changes are good. They're a sign that our hospitals are, being able to manage the capacity, that trajectory of the capacity. And that's a good thing. But that doesn't mean that this virus isn't going to continue to spread. And so we just have to really watch our community and make the best choices for our staff that would be doing it and the students at that time.
You mentioned the projects, that those just got started anyway. Any major updates with those, things that are happening other than, that they got kicked off early?
No, it's great. The whole crew is on site. We have a company called UNESCO that is overseeing the project. And so people will see a camper parked outside. Their foreman is here now for the summer, I think. And so it's just great to see all the subcontractors in and out already. And getting this jump start on it is really going to help us so that come fall, if with the luck of our health of our community, we're able to start school on time, it won't be such a rush with that construction project. So if anything good came from all this, it is getting that head start.
I know one of the things that the school's been doing over the last month and a half are the school lunches. Those are probably going to continue as is over the next week or so with the surveys, but an end date for that is coming up in May.
It is May 15th. So that Friday, May 15th will be the last day that we do meals. And we've seen those numbers just jump. I mean, we're just under 200 some days. And so it's been great to be able to fulfill that need throughout the community. And I'm so thankful for the volunteers that have helped me deliver, and for the people who have given us donations for additional treats, and we're hoping to get out some books to kids here on the drop off through some donations also. And so it's been really fun to see, and I do think the kids enjoy it.
All right, now I kind of saved this topic for the end, not that I want to put you on the spot, but I know that you're probably going to get the emails, the phone calls, the texts. We talked a little bit about how graduation is. We're looking at a virtual thing, maybe recorded things, and this news comes out, and I know it's way too early to say anything, but anything you want to say about graduation at this point, knowing, the information, parents are going to hear it, just to get out in front of that and get information out to folks now so that they can start making plans or know what the thought process is.
Right, exactly. Well, at this time, again, with Governor Noem's announcement just coming at 3:00, I have nothing new to add. We still are intending on having the virtual graduation ceremony on the 16th, and then what we are considering a more traditional style in July. Now, that's not to say that the virtual ceremony in May couldn't look differently than what we've organized up to this point based on those recommendations and changes. Mr. Bunkers might get his money worth here. We might get our money's worth out of him here in the next couple weeks as he really digs into what this looks like. Again, we just still can't. We have a large class size. Sometimes when you're a school surrounded by smaller schools and they have groups of 25, 30 graduating, they can be a little bit more creative. And so I don't have anything new to share. I will say that we'll take this new recommendation and look at those CDC guidelines and make sure we're doing what we can to maybe alter that plan as best as we can. But our students we still plan to give them their diploma on the 16th. in an individual setting unless something changes, which, like I said, Mr. Bunkers and I will really be looking at that now here the next week or so, and we'll make sure parents know if we make any changes.
Sure. Before I let you go, anything else that you want to hit on as far as the school, wrapping up the year, kind of these last few weeks of, information maybe parents need to know?
I will say we have had a staple in our community, in our school community, the time that I've been here, and Deputy Walker is finishing up his time with Del Rapids Public Schools and this week. And so if people see him out on the road or by the school or, in the community, I just encourage them to thank him for his service, thank him for being that conduit between the law enforcement and the school and the students, and helping serve that purpose so that our students know that they have a safe, that law enforcement piece is a safe zone for them and the relationships he's built. So if people could give him a thank you sometime this week when they see him and an appropriate goodbye, I would appreciate that.
Great. Well, I said, I figure that we'll be talking, maybe less than a week, few days from now, as you're able to meet with staff and your administration to figure out, where to go from here now that this announcement came out, and we'll see if any more details come out. But thanks for taking the time to share some information today, because I know that with what came out, people are going to have some questions and want to know what's happening. So I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I do appreciate the offer to talk to Matt, because I think you're right. We hear her announcement, and all of us as moms, as community members, think instantly, well, what does that change then? And so now, as elected officials and leaders of the community and the schools, now we have to go, well, what does change? And so once we are able to process this and make some decisions, we'll get that information out and probably visit with you next week. So.
All right. Sounds great. Appreciate the time again.